All right, we are live. What's up, everybody? Okay, let's go ahead and just get some light jams in the back going for this draw stream. Thanks everybody for tuning in as we get this Skarbrand drawing on. Kind of confirm all these settings here. Yeah, this is looking good. All right, so where we left off, we were kind of getting into this ink layer. We were kind of finishing up with this guy over here, this knight. Made him a lot smaller. And honestly, I'm conflicted. I just feel like these ink lines are just too thick. I'm conflicted. Like, part of me is telling me to just kind of drop this opacity down and then just re-go over this with maybe another layer here. I don't want to have to redo work, but it's almost like ink Rio. It's almost like if you just don't like it, redo it. So maybe let's just go ahead and give this a shot. So we'll go here. So we're at brushes 3.4 or 4 pixels. I feel like 3 is just too thin though. So let's see how this looks. Let's kind of give this a once over. Yeah, I feel like it might just have to go 3, y'all. But what we can do is go ahead and just kind of start drawing this out again. So from the top, but we got the whole hour ahead of us. We got our blackberry lemonade, sparkling water, ready to go. For all this work it took to kind of get to this point, I would really feel bad if I just were starting to kind of go through this and just be not happy with it with the ink layer. So I just kind of am stopping myself before it gets to that point. So might be a little bit extra time here to go through this, but at least we'll feel better about it. So we're going to keep this at brush size 3, keep on the ink Real layer. And let's just go ahead and dive right in. Kind of adjust our keyboard just a little bit. Bring our tablet over here just to get a little bit more comfy. Okay, and here is where we're at. Okay, cool. One of the reasons we're doing this is because there's so much detail that went into this guy that when you start dealing with like a really thick ink layer line, you really do lose a lot of that. So just kind of doing it justice. Took the time in the sketch layer to capture that, so this is already feeling a lot better too. This is kind of nice. I feel like during my last art session, we had just finished up the wings, which took a lot out of me, and I feel like we had some extra time to move into the ink layer. And I feel like I was kind of rushing it a little bit, to be honest. So this is good to kind of just get back in here, have the whole next hour to really just have fun with this. Because the ink layer at this time is supposed to be fun. You know, we put a lot of work into getting to this point. Really, with this ink layer, we don't really want it to be too thick, right? Like we don't want the color to be, or the black to just be too Too extra. Um, then one thing that was bugging me is these eyes too. I'll probably go ahead and redo those, but I kind of been in this doing this one in particular long enough to where I kind of know how this guy looks. So one thing we'll really want to make sure to do is kind of just capture this little curve in his mouth too. And with that, we'll actually probably want to make this just a little bit, come in a little bit more, just to really follow that line. So here, since we are doing the ink layer, we will want to be really particular about just taking care of the lines and like getting the ones out that we don't need, instead of just leaving them in like we could with the sketch layer. And actually, maybe we kind of adjust this one a little bit more. It wasn't just so pronounced. So I have one hand on my stylus, and then the other hand is basically on like the control alt, the control undo, or the edit undo. Kind of bring this a little bit in. Here's gonna be that secondary horn that comes out from this guy's got horns for days. The reason I'm doing each of these little parts individually is just to kind of put a little bit more like, kind of like organic dimensions onto it. It looks a little bit more, not like they're like all straight lines, you know? And if anything's just getting too, if it just doesn't feel right, edit undo. Fuzzy lines. Are they fuzzy for you right now? Oh, if they feel funny. Or does it feel right? Yeah. I basically, Michael, from that last time I drew, basically the lines were just looking too, the lines are just looking too fat. See how thick these are? So I wasn't digging how thick they were looking, so I actually kind of just dropped them down. And then I'm doing another layer. So we're doing the real layer here, and I'm already liking the kind of the brush size here. It's a lot thinner, which will end up looking really good when we start moving into the coloring. We just after we did the wings last time I was drawing this, I kind of just dove right into the ink layer, and I was really happy with how that was all turning out. So we kind of just started from the ink. He said, not so straight. Can they be made fuzzy or not straight? Oh, yeah, basically, instead of just having like this kind of line drawn up here, just like making this a straight line. See, if I was to go like this, I mean, that's one way to do it. But I feel like when you do individual little sections of this horn, it just kind of makes it look a little bit more like organic. It makes it look a little bit more like it kind of grew upon itself in these different layers. So just kind of doing these individually. How's Elden Ring going? You playing tonight with your bud, or you guys have certain play times? There's something kind of oddly satisfying about doing it this way too. One thing we'll want to make sure to do is just not make sure, like, to make the distinction between what's what. We don't want any of these lines kind of bleeding into themselves. So see how this is kind of coming down in here. We were playing it tonight. I'm taking a little break though. Games like Elden Ring, while fun, I get burnt out on. Yeah, there's a lot of like, I've watched some gameplay footage of it. Seems like it's pretty action heavy too. Cool though that you're doing like a co-op. It's kind of neat. Alright, so here, this is going to be the guy's ear. We'll just kind of make this a little bit more so we can get some red in there when we start doing the color. So did your new computer come in yet? This is the week, right? I feel like I messed that up a little bit. Here too, one of the benefits of keeping the it's so the can really get into, where's my reference here? Kind of get into his earring a little bit more. So you can kind of just see a little bit more about where his ear's at. Whoa, what did I just do with that? Oh, I see. There we go. Kind of where his hairline is. It's kind of interesting because these are like almost like all single strands. But I think I might just save that for a little bit later. We'll tackle that part later. I want to get his goatee rock in there. He got that anime beard going. Yeah, man, he does. I know. So it's like goes all the way down too. It's funny. I noticed that too. So here, it's gonna be his ear. And then he's got this cool little earring that we can kind of, now that we've kind of put a little bit more detail into this, like this curve here where it starts. Before, when these lines were too thick, it just wasn't going to be possible to kind of put this type of detail in it. But now that we have this kind of little bit thinner, we can kind of just do a little bit more to it. And while we won't get a chance to really get into this too much, because when we ultimately zoom out, you're not really going to see that part, but another thing with this as well too is you don't really want to you kind of want to have stopping points when you're drawing. As in, you know, after I get done with this one section, I'm gonna lift my pen up and not keep drawing. That way, if I do too much and then I have to undo, I won't lose it all. Okay. All right. So this is looking good here. These guys also have some little design like this. You'll see when you start kind of adding the symmetry of it, it all really starts to kind of come together. So this is kind of balancing out this, and this is balancing out here. It's kind of neat how that all works. This part will definitely go like so. Okay. Start now with his upper back. Kind of have that be his trap. So then kind of go up into his shoulder here. Okay. This is kind of where his chest is then. Cool. All right, now he can kind of start getting into his armor here. Yeah, I feel like when I was drawing this last time, I was kind of rushing this a little bit. So it's interesting to even just feel the difference of taking it nice and easy. Nice and easy. Kind of just have a lot more fun with it. Like I said, with all the amount of time it took to get to this point to where we're inking it, you might as well just do it right. Because when we start getting into the coloring, that's going to be another challenge in of itself. Okay, so his beard's going to be covering this part, so I won't really draw this right now. Thanks for hanging out tonight, though. So, kind of story behind why I started to draw again is my computer fried when I was trying to play Warhammer 3, and so it was in the shop for a week or two. And I was so immersed at the time I didn't know what to do with myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to set up my old computer and start drawing again. So I basically started to draw. I kind of just wanted to keep up with it. Guy's just got skulls everywhere. And then let's see how we wanted to do this here. Probably do... Probably just get this initial line here going. And we'll kind of just want to draw a little line here as if we were coming down. It's a little difficult. So we'll just kind of keep this as his beard line right now. And just for funsies, we'll kind of just start making these outlines here. And again, because his head's kind of turned, we'll want to kind of just make sure that this is looking a little bit like this. Like there's a kind of a, not just do this right directly in the center. And similarly, with this part of the armor ending here, we'll want to kind of make it to where there's just this distinction between this line and where this line bleeds over. Otherwise, it's just going to look like it's a single line kind of bleeding through everything. And we might even end up just kind of putting in more lines as we go. But for now, this will be a good stopping point for his goatee. So we have a lot of other work to do in his armor section here. So even like these little rivets all come into play to really make this guy's armor come to life. Because he's got a lot of detail. My last drawing was like Heinrich Himmler, and he was just kind of wearing a robe, so it wasn't nearly as intensive. But this guy's got the full armor going on. And this will be basically at the bottom of his arm. And then in here, we're going to make sure that this is kind of the color of the background, because this is where his waist starts. Then his belt comes up like so. We'll kind of just draw his belt in like this. We'll put this line here. Yeah, see, that's one of the things, Michael, is like similar to, like, you know, in this image that we see here on the left, like there's no black line. It's just like the line, like the color of the skin. Like, I'm not quite there yet, but I definitely want to get to the point where I can kind of get a little bit more into that. I have some YouTube videos saved as far as like how to digitally color, because I'd probably say that's one of my areas of improvement that I want to really work on, is just learning how to kind of color a little bit more. But yeah, I agree with you, getting to the point where like it looks a lot more realistic when you kind of have that method of coloring and inking, as opposed to like what I'm doing now with these like really heavy black lines. But yeah, I definitely agree. That's where I want to take this one day. But we're going to be kind of doing these draw streams in between my campaigns, you know? So keep improving. But yeah, I think I do like that kind of style. It just looks so much better, so much more realistic, you know? Feel like I kind of copped out a little bit on the section here. So I'm gonna kind of leave this a little bit more, because I feel like there's just work I need to do in like getting some of these details out before I can really start putting in these darker lines on it. I think it kind of came out like this. Then up like so. So we'll deal with that a little bit later here. And at this point, I'm getting kind of trapped in a little bit. So we'll go ahead and just move on. Kind of just be some of his waistlines going on here. Balance that out. And then here's where we'll start the armor on the other side. Okay. And these lines are going to be a little bit more, again, one of the things I need to kind of get into is into detail a little bit more. But it looks like he's kind of got a single like outer line on here. That's our initial line. Then here, I'm not gonna get too caught up at this point because this spend all night doing these parts, but basically just trying to get some initial. Might be something we revisit. And you'll see once we remove these kind of these sketch layers in the back, you'll see how this all kind of plays a part in kind of the armor all coming together. And right now we're really zoomed in, but when we started zooming out, you'll kind of see it might look a little bit cleaner. Cool. Okay. So here he does have kind of, I'm glad I have this reference pulled up. So he's kind of got like this little metal piece here with some of these these pieces coming up here. So it looks almost like and we don't need to get this perfect. But as long as it's the general idea of what this armor looks like. And then also how this relates to kind of the overlap as well too. Like this is probably going to be a little bit to figure out the overlap on there, which is on top of the other one. This is kind of that top portion of the skull. This will be this skull here. We won't really see where like the eye pockets are, or the eye sockets, except for maybe this one. And then this is be the nose cavity, the nasal cavity. Then this kind of starts there for these little teeth that they got. Kind of these little teeth here that we see. And we'll kind of just start doing this. It's fun because you can kind of really start putting like the details in. What's up, everybody just tuning in? Welcome to the stream. Just do a little Skarbrand art in between my campaigns that I got rocking. We'll kind of zoom out and kind of take a little gander at what this all looks like right now. Yeah, so I think that's looking pretty good here. And then once we start removing the like sketch layers, and we're just left with this line, the harder lines, we can definitely move into coloring, which will be a lot of fun. Okay, we'll get back on our ink layer, get another zoom in here. All right, let's do this arm, shall we? All right, we got the bicep. Now here, actually a little tricky because we got his bicep here, his bicep, and his arm's kind of like bent, right? So how we draw that out is pretty important. So we know that he's going to have like this wristband. Kind of draw this out like so. Here's kind of where it ends. I want to kind of want to make it so this wristband looks like it's a little bit more like actually covering it. Like it's actually on top. So what we'll do, kind of just erase this part here. And then when we kind of draw this again, we'll want to make it seem like this wrist is like he's almost like it's more wrapped around, right? So it's not just like a flat piece on him. This is looking good here. Kind of do like that. Here's where we'll then kind of take his lat. This will be where his chest goes. And then kind of bring his arm down like so. This is going to be where we start his tricep. And getting into his elbow section here. Okay. So we'll kind of redo this line for now, because we want this line to really come down a little bit further like that. But one thing I'm trying to practice as well too is this foreshortening. So trying to make it seem like, you know, things that are more in front of the camera or like closer to us are going to be bigger, like this hand, for example, as compared to his hand in the back, which will be a little bit smaller. So it's just a technique I'm trying to get a little bit better at. So that's why we're practicing it here. Just kind of do his knuckles. And for now, this is all we're going to really do with this hand. We might come back and put in a little bit more detail to it, but this is just gonna get for right now at least. So we got that. At this point, we can kind of start moving into this knight. So let's go ahead and put his shoulder pad. This is good here. I kind of just made it to where it's kind of like he's just wearing a tabard. That's just kind of more for my own sake. Kind of just make it look a little bit more like it's cloth. I was gonna have his hands kind of like outside of his hand as well too, but I think this might even look better as far as like he's kind of just gripped and like super tight and close. So we're gonna leave this like this. His legs here, kind of just make these look like they're dangling. What I'll likely end up doing, you'll see, is we'll put his boots. Actually, this was kind of like the back of his leg plates here. And then we have kind of his feet. Kind of like, you know, as the soles of his feet are facing us. We'll kind of just do it like that. Similarly, we'll kind of move to this end. Get this jotted down real quick. And what I'll probably end up doing here is just actually put some chainmail. So we'll kind of just start jotting this out now, just to put some textural difference between, you know, all this red that's going to be going on and then kind of this little chainmail look that he's got here. This will really make him stand out against everything else we got going on. And other things that'll make things stand out will be like when we start getting into the color. But for now, this should be pretty good. And one thing to balance that out, we can go ahead and put like, we could probably put like chainmail up here, for example. Because this will really show, you know, kind of his arms have chainmail and then his legs have chainmail. This will really bring him together. And I know that for this helmet, we kind of have like a helmet like this, but, you know, we might even consider doing like something like this. Then actually making this chainmail as well too. but almost like he's wearing a coif with a little like cap on top. That might be an option. And we won't really get too much into his face here. But this is something we might kind of do instead of this bucket helmet that I kind of use as another sort of a cop-out. Probably put some like stress lines here, like where he's kind of getting squeezed. And then we might even put like if he's kind of got like a checkered pattern like on his tabard, this will probably be where we kind of distinguish that. But this is good for this part of it right now. Okay, so this is his arm there. We'll kind of bring his arm down this way. This will come over to where this band kind of meets. We might have to just get in here and redo this a little bit, but as it stands right now, this is looking fine. We might kind of bring this down a little bit more, but we'll see. All right. Here what we can do, let's go ahead and start moving on to his wing. And with these wings as well too, we can really just have fun with this and kind of not just do straight lines, but like really show how just all these different parts of it. It's got these kind of wings like this that come up. And he's got a lot of like little like sharp bones that come out. I don't really like how that turned out. But again, you can see how like if you go too far and you do edit undo, you're gonna lose a lot of stuff. So you just kind of, after you finish one part you're happy with, just lift your pencil up and move on. Okay. Okay. Let's see, we're a little bit past halftime, but we are definitely making really good progress on this. Feeling a lot better about it. Just got some really cool demon wings going on here. Cool. Okay, that will be good there. Let's see, where was this line that I... Oh boy. Okay, I might have to get back into this part a little bit later. I just got to see where I was making his wing out to be. I think we actually did right wing. Yeah, here we go. So this is the line I was following here. So it'll come out like this. All right, thanks, Michael. Take it easy, bud. Thanks for stopping in. I'll catch you next time. These are pretty thick wings, though. Okay, then he's got another one that kind of comes down like this. Then another wing that comes down like so. Again, we want to make sure that we have these like lines that are distinguishing parts of the body from the other parts of the body. We don't really want to have this line come up here because it just won't look, it won't give it any depth. Then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just erase this line here. See how this line looks a little funky here? Okay. Kind of just do a quick zoom out. This is looking good. We can go ahead and just hide this for now. We don't really need it. Then let's get into this other wing just because we're doing the wings. Might as well just do the wings. All right. Cool. Kind of do these little barbs here. Oof. See, I messed up. Didn't, well, yeah, whatever. Just kind of wanted to stop my pen a little bit before I went too far. Just curve it in a little bit much on me there. Just draw like so. Cool. Looks like this is kind of getting into his axe area too, so kind of just pause for a second on how we continue that. We won't complete that part of the wing yet. Cool. Okay. Okay, let's get into these leg plates, shall we? Let me see, I actually have some good photos of his leg plates. Just want to see. Yeah, so this kind of does, the skull is part of it. Cool. This is making me excited to get into the coloring portion of this. But it's all necessary. And really with this, we kind of want to make sure that we're following this line, so we actually might want to, we'll deal with that detail later. Again, just not getting caught up in any spot. Okay, this will be this other part. It's gonna be his belt. This will be where his waist will be. And then we'll get into this other section here. We use these opportunities to kind of just put some extra depth into his armor by showing where these things kind of stick out a little bit more. And this is going to be a completely different look because of its sideways orientation. Okay. Should be good for there. Cool. Then he basically does have these little straps as well too. That's one thing we might want to consider, is kind of bringing his armor up like so. And then drawing these straps down. Okay, so here what we'll do is we'll just move on to this section because we can't do the straps until we got this section rocking. But we are almost done with the ink layer. We got about 11 minutes left in tonight's stream. Let me just get to it. One thing I'm being conscious of is this beard right now, so we'll go ahead and just erase where we need to when we get to that. But we don't want that to stop us from drawing all this goodness going on. This circle's really going to stand out too when we get into the coloring. Kind of a cool little focal point. And then this will come down like so. Kind of get this line here, really distinctive line. Probably wanted to redo this actually. Right here, there we go, that's a little bit better. One thing that also will make this pop are these little rivets right here. All these little details really come into play. And you know, we kind of want this to be a little bit more sharp actually, because these are plates of metal. So we don't want them to be really rounded out. It is armor after all. Let's scroll down here. Cool. This is actually really fun here with this chainmail that he's got. And he actually does have some holes in here. So this will be kind of cool to just draw right now. There's just something about drawing chainmail, I don't know, just really enjoyable. And the thing is with this as well too, he does kind of have some little gaps in his chainmail, which is kind of neat. It's like not complete. Then it just kind of ends in like this little skull thing like this, I remember. And we won't kind of, we might put in a little bit more detail a little bit later on. But right now we won't get too caught up in this. Cool. So let's get into his legs now. So we're kind of just jamming through this. We are flying through this ink layer, and this is where all the time spent doing his sketch layer really starts to pay off. It's kind of neat. So he does have kind of these like boots, but then they do open up into his they like open up into his kind of cool. His hoofs. Excellent. And we might need to come back to this a little bit, but as it stands right now, this is looking fine. Cool. Okay, this will come around like so. I'm gonna bring his leg in. For this, we'll bring the strap around. But then we'll also want to make sure that the strap goes a little bit above his skin, just so that we show that it's, you know, kind of wrapping around. His kneecap, kind of his quad muscle here. Something like that. Excellent. We might have to go back through and kind of do his hoofs again, but if anything, that's gonna be a good spot. Gotta start wrapping this up. I think we're, yeah, about 4 minutes left. So again, not trying to rush this at all. This will be kind of his armor. This will play a little bit more of an importance once we get into the coloring of how all this is kind of connected on him. This comes down. Now this kind of then turns into his hand. And one thing we could do with this demon hand he's got, just gonna bring it up. Gonna bring it down. Give him like a little claw right here. Kind of really helps portray that. Then this can be where he kind of build his knuckles. Hands are just a beast all in themselves, so we might have to go back through here a little bit. But ultimately, this is going to be where he will be holding his axe. And basically now, we'll kind of start off with the next session on his axe. But what we can do is kind of just zoom out and make sure that everything's looking rather decent. I think one thing I want to do at this point, though, is go into the sketch layer. Actually, it's probably this ink layer here, and I want to just kind of just want to take out his eyes for right now. His eyes are kind of bugging me. I feel like that's like one of the most important parts of this cat. Well, then we'll go into the sketch layer. Which might be this one. Okay. Might just be one for his face. See if I can just erase this. Oops, no. This is where your layer management really comes into play and starts messing you up. Kind of just see where we're looking for these eyeballs to disappear is what we're looking for. There you go. Yeah, so I mean at this time, you can start kind of removing these other layers that we don't really need right now. They might come back into play a little bit later on, but we can kind of just see where this is going to end off for us. So if we kind of had gotta zoom out. So now we kind of have like a much better outline here. And this will be a good kind of jumping off point for when we start getting our coloring on. I'm leaving his eyes out for right now because it really just makes or breaks Skarbrand, but you can kind of just see how we've progressed throughout and then what's left to do. So yeah, good progress tonight. With that, I'm going to sign off, and we will get back to this Skarbrand drawing next week sometime. Just stay tuned. I'll try to get it scheduled up so you can see when we're gonna jam. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks all. Bye.